I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully learn from it.
Justin Bieber's past comments about his difficult experience growing up in the music industry are being seen in a new light. The singer's 2020 interview with Apple Music's Zane Lowe has resurfaced amid Diddy's bombshell sex trafficking case, with Justin tearing up at the time over wanting to help.
I never took nothing from nobody a day in my life.
Mase
owes me $3 million. That's facts. I got the receipt.
On receipts. Let's start with your Your mother got the receipts. Thing is in your mother's name. That's the one who got the receipts.
This isn't the kind of story you hear every day, especially not from someone like Justin Bieber, but when he opened up recently about the darker side of the music industry, things got real. He started talking about Mase, not just as a rapper, but as someone who made one of the boldest moves in hip-hop history. Mase didn't just walk away from fame, he walked away from Diddy, from the whole flashy, chaotic world of bad boy records, and straight into a life with God. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Justin says he saw himself in that story. Different generation, different genre, but the same game behind the scenes. The same pressure, manipulation, and spiritual emptiness dressed up in luxury and success. And just like Mase, Justin says he had to make a choice, stay in the system and keep playing the part, or break free and find something real. It's not the kind of thing most celebrities talk about, at least not publicly. But Justin made it clear that the industry can feel like a trap, especially when you're young, famous, and surrounded by people who only care about what you can give them. For Mase, the way out was God. For Justin, it was the same path. Different story, same escape route. What makes this all hit harder is how personal it is. Justin didn't just admire what Mase did. He lived a version of it himself. The fake friendships, the moral compromises, the sense of being owned by a system that's built to chew you up and spit you out. So when he talks about Mase finding freedom in faith, he's not speaking as a fan looking in. He's speaking as someone who knows exactly what that journey feels like. And now with both of them on the other side, it's starting to look less like a random coincidence and more like a pattern. Fame isn't always what it seems. And sometimes, the most powerful thing a person can do is just walk away. You see, rumor has it Diddy allegedly pushed his young artists into these so-called freak-offs, wild parties that, by all accounts, went way beyond the typical celebrity craziness. These weren't just regular late-night bashes with music and dancing. According to those who lived through it, the atmosphere at these events was chilling, dark, and downright dangerous. It wasn't about fun anymore. It was about control, manipulation, and some say even sinister rituals. Young artists like Justin Bieber, Usher, Mase, Craig Mack, and others found themselves pressured, sometimes outright forced, to take part in these gatherings. The things they witnessed reportedly left deep emotional and spiritual scars. The parties were filled with behaviors so twisted and depraved that it became a kind of spiritual warfare. For many of these artists, it was a nightmare they couldn't escape while they were still in the industry. What's haunting is that these artists describe seeing things that went beyond just partying or even exploitation. There are rumors and blind items hinting at ritualistic behavior, mind control, and even animal sacrifices. While these claims sound extreme, the consistent pattern is clear. The environment was toxic on a level few outsiders could imagine. This dark reality led many of these artists to make a drastic choice. They turned to faith as their only way out. The music and fame were no longer worth the price. For some, religion became a lifeline, a way to reclaim their identity and sanity after experiencing trauma that most people can't even fathom. Craig Mack is one powerful example. After his success with Bad Boy, he stepped away from the spotlight and joined a controversial religious group, which many say helped him find some peace before his untimely death. His story is a somber reminder of how deeply these experiences affected him and others. Then there's 50 Cent, who years ago started raising alarms about what really happened behind the scenes. He posted photos of former bad boy artists, pointing out that many either turned to God or suffered tragic fates after being caught up in that lifestyle. He specifically referenced G. Depp, who ended up serving life in prison, and Biggie Smalls, whose death has long been shrouded in conspiracy, implying that Diddy's circle had more dark secrets than the public knew. 50's posts sent a clear message. The freak-offs weren't just wild parties, they were a form of spiritual danger that destroyed lives. Many of these artists were literally dancing with the devil, and the ones who made it out alive did so by embracing faith and rejecting everything that world tried to trap them in. However, some managed to escape from him. And there's Jaguar Wright.
If this place go up in flames right now, the only who will survive is that. He said he a shepherd for the devil. He said, I don't even feel comfortable being here now after I saw that happen with Father MC.
For years, people saw Justin Bieber as just another pop phenomenon, a teenage heartthrob with a voice, a smile, and a boatload of fame. But behind the scenes, his rise wasn't as clean or carefree as it looked. From a young age, Justin was thrown into rooms with some of the most powerful and most controversial figures in the entertainment industry. One name that keeps surfacing in those conversations is Sean Diddy Combs. The connection between Justin and Diddy goes back to his earliest days in the spotlight. There are videos and photos that fans have dissected over the years, clips of a young Bieber hanging out at Diddy's house being promised the world and invited into a lifestyle that no teenager should ever be exposed to. At first, it all seemed like mentorship, a big-name mogul guiding a rising star. But as time went on, the story started to feel off. There were always rumors about the parties, about what really went on when the cameras weren't rolling, stories of celebrity kids being caught up in things way over their heads, allegations of manipulation, exploitation, and blurred lines between power and control. Diddy's name has long hovered over those conversations, and Justin's has quietly been there too, often in the background, but always close enough to raise eyebrows. What's heartbreaking is that Justin was just a kid, barely a teenager. He was thrust into the center of an industry that eats people alive, surrounded by adults who saw him as a commodity more than a human being. And for a long time, it looked like he was spiraling under the weight of it all. The reckless behavior, the breakdowns, the legal trouble. It wasn't just typical celebrity rebellion. It was the unraveling of someone who had seen and lived through too much too soon. No one really thought he'd make it out. Not completely. In an industry where so many young stars burn out, fade away, or worse, Justin seemed destined to become another cautionary tale. But then he changed.
Jesus wasn't this religious elite guy that, came to, but he was in the dirt, and he found me in my dirt and pulled me out. Like I said before, I'm a Jesus follower, and I just want to be led by, when you accept Jesus, he says that now you walk with the Holy Spirit. So I think I just want to be led by the Holy Spirit. We're not really good at the end of the day. At the core, I don't believe humans are good. And people might, twist this and make me seem like I'm saying humanity's not good. I don't know.
Tell you the truth.
I just feel like at the core, I fight every day temptation and things that, are instinctive to do, whether it's, whatever it is. Lie, be greedy, all these things that just naturally come. Those naturally come. I gotta fight to not be that.
Step by step, he started pulling away from the people and places that once had control over him. He stopped showing up to the parties. He restructured his team. He got married, got help, and most importantly, he found faith. And not in a surface-level, publicist-approved kind of way. He turned to God in a way that reshaped his life from the inside out. Now Justin is finally speaking on the deeper truths behind that transformation. He's letting people know that his escape from the chaos wasn't luck. It wasn't fame saving him. It wasn't even therapy or music, though those helped. It was God. It was a spiritual awakening that gave him the strength to walk away from the very machine that had nearly destroyed him.
I went and stayed with this pastor in New York for 2-3 weeks. And it was uncomfortable for me. I felt like I wasn't good enough to be around these people who were so, perfect. It felt like, and
why did you feel that way? And why did you live with a pastor to begin with?
It was basically because I was just in a weird place, dude.
Yeah.
And I felt it in my soul. I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was growing up. My mom raised me as a Christian. So, but as I was growing up, there was so many weird Christians that I came across that was like, I don't think I want to be a Christian, you know? And then I got to a point where I was so lost. I'm like, let me try to revisit my faith. But I did it with these people because I know that their view on their faith is so much different than most Christians. Because most Christians are like, I'm going to do this so that God can love me. I'm going to like, if I show up wearing this, like, he'll respect that, you know? But that's not what God is. Like, if God is based on love, it's I love you first, regardless of what you do, rather than you do this and then I'll love you. Does that make sense?
He loves you no matter.
He loves you no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can go do what you want, but if God's based on love, like if I love my girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna want to cheat on her because I love her so much. It's not like if I don't cheat on her, she's gonna love me more, or you know what I mean? It's like you've developed a relationship with God.
And when he talks about Mase, another man who walked away from Diddy's empire to find peace with God, it's not just admiration, it's identification. Because Justin lived it. He knows what it feels like to be young, famous, and trapped in a world that looks like heaven but feels like hell. And he knows what it takes to get out. Now, with the courage to speak out, Justin's not just reclaiming his story, he's warning others. The industry has a dark side, one that doesn't care how young you are or how lost you become in the process. But there is a way out, and if he could find it, so can others. And it's not just Justin stepping into the spotlight to talk about faith, it's starting to ripple through his whole life, including his marriage and extended family. In a moment that caught a lot of attention, Stephen Baldwin, Hailey Bieber's father and a well-known born-again Christian, recently shared a now-deleted Instagram reel asking for prayers for the young couple. That post, which originally came from Victor Marks of All Things Possible Ministries, wasn't dramatic or cryptic. It was a quiet but serious request for the Christian community to lift Justin and Hailey up in prayer, specifically for wisdom, protection, and that they would draw close to the Lord. It may have been a simple ask, but coming from Stephen and shared publicly, it struck a nerve. People immediately began to wonder what was going on behind the scenes. Why now? Why such a direct call for spiritual support? It's especially resonant given what the couple has faced over the past few years. In 2022, Justin was diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare and frightening condition that left one side of his face temporarily paralyzed. It was a sobering moment for someone who, despite everything, is still so young. He took to Instagram to be real about it, asking fans for prayers and leaning into his faith as his anchor. He didn't mince words. He knew he was in the middle of a storm, and Jesus, he said, was the one steadying him. That same year, Hailey faced her own health scare, a blood clot in her brain that sent her to the hospital and left fans around the world stunned. These weren't small setbacks. They were life-altering, deeply vulnerable moments that forced the couple to slow down, reassess, and hold on tightly to something greater than themselves. Through it all, their faith has stayed front and center. For Justin, this spiritual path has been years in the making, publicly beginning with his baptism by Carl Lentz in 2014, a pastor who, at the time, was known for bringing Christianity into the celebrity space. And for Hailey, it's always been part of her DNA. Raised in a Christian home with a father who has never been shy about his born-again beliefs, Hailey's spirituality isn't performative. It's rooted. Through all the chaos, all the public meltdowns, and behind-the-scenes pain, one person who truly saw Justin for who he was, and who he could become, was Hailey. Long before the wedding vows and Instagram perfect moments, Hailey was there during some of Justin's darkest chapters. She witnessed the unraveling up close. The arrests, the drug use, the anger, and the emotional numbness that came from years of being overexposed, overworked, and underprotected. She saw the toll that fame had taken on him, not just the headlines, but the weight he carried behind closed doors. Justin wasn't just battling addiction and legal trouble. He was quietly wrestling with much deeper trauma. The kind that doesn't make it into celebrity gossip columns. The kind that stems from being a kid in a world full of adults with power and no boundaries.
When I really sit in my room and I'm alone and I can just God, are you there? I feel this connection with something that's a higher being. And picture it as being a perfect thing.
Yeah.
It just puts an ease to my soul that's I can't describe.
Special.
It's special, yeah.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be weird and
No.
There's long been speculation about what really went on in those early years, especially around his connection to Diddy and the Hollywood elite who welcomed Justin into their world far too young. Whispers of exploitative party scenes, manipulation, and emotional control have surrounded Diddy for years. And while nothing has been confirmed, the damage to young stars like Justin is undeniable. That trauma didn't disappear when the music stopped or when the cameras turned off. It lingered, and Hailey could feel it. She didn't just fall in love with the pop star, she fell in love with the broken, hurting person underneath it all. And while Justin was trying to outrun his pain with substances and self-destruction, Hailey quietly stood by, not enabling him, but gently pointing him towards something different, something deeper. God. She knew faith wasn't just a nice idea. It was survival. It was healing. It was the only thing strong enough to hold someone as wounded and world-weary as Justin. And she didn't preach at him. She prayed for him. She walked with him. Slowly, steadily. She helped him begin to believe that he wasn't too far gone. That no matter what he'd done or what had been done to him, grace was still available. Stephen Baldwin's post might have been short, but the timing said everything. When he shared that Instagram reel asking people to pray for Justin and Hailey, it wasn't just a random gesture. It felt like a quiet alarm bell, a way of saying, without saying too much, that something serious is going on behind the scenes. And with everything happening around Diddy right now, it's hard not to connect the dots. Diddy is in the middle of a major reckoning. Lawsuits, accusations, dark stories from years ago finally bubbling to the surface. And if you know Justin's history, you know this hits close to home. He was in that world. As a teenager, he was around those parties, those circles, those people. At the time, it looked like just another celebrity mentorship. Diddy taking a rising star under his wing. But looking back now, with all the disturbing details coming out, it's clear there was a lot more going on. And for Justin, that reality is likely hitting hard. Word is, he's not doing great right now. Emotionally, spiritually, he's been feeling it, and it makes sense. When you've tried for years to heal from something, to move on and start over, the last thing you want is for the past to resurface in such a public and triggering way. But that's exactly what's happening. Everything he tried to walk away from is back in the news, and it's stirring up a lot. That's probably why Stephen felt the need to speak up. Not to make a scene, not to start rumors, but to get people praying. He's been around this industry long enough to know when the weight is getting too heavy for someone to carry alone. And as Hailey's dad, he's likely seeing firsthand what this is doing to Justin behind closed doors. The truth is, Justin's been through a lot more than most people realize. The drugs, the arrests, the emotional roller coaster, it wasn't just bad behavior. It was the fallout from a system that chewed him up when he was still a kid. And now that the truth about some of those environments is finally being exposed, the emotional scars are being reopened. And the thing is, Justin isn't alone in all this. What he's going through, this painful reckoning with fame, trauma, and spiritual emptiness, it's not just his story. It's part of a much bigger pattern that's finally starting to come to light, especially now, with former bad boy artists stepping up and telling the truth about what they saw, what they lived through, and what they barely escaped. Mase, for example, isn't just some washed-up rapper who suddenly found religion. He was one of the first to walk away from the machine. At the height of his career, he disappeared almost overnight, not because he couldn't hack it, but because he'd seen too much. He's been hinting for years that there were things happening behind the scenes that were so spiritually dark, so disturbing, that the only way he could process it was to fully surrender to God and become a pastor. Craig Mack, may he rest in peace. He faded out of the spotlight and ended up joining an obscure religious group that some have described as cult-like, only to pass away under murky circumstances. These aren't just isolated stories. They're part of a disturbing pattern. What's even more unsettling is what's being said about those notorious parties. Former insiders and whistleblowers are starting to talk, and it's not just the typical celebrity excess. Some are claiming there were things going on that went way beyond and drugs, things that felt downright evil. Ritualistic behavior, psychological manipulation, allegations of animal sacrifice have even surfaced in blind items and online forums. And while none of this is officially confirmed, the sheer number of artists who've run toward religion after leaving Diddy's circle, that's hard to ignore. But anyway, Back to Mase. Here's where things get really interesting. After Mase left the rap game and stepped into the role of an ordained minister, you'd think he was done with the industry drama, right? Nope. The music never fully left him. He tried to find a middle ground, balancing his calling as a pastor with his passion for hip-hop. He came back in 2004 with Welcome Back, and then again in 2009 with Double Up. But even as he tried to straddle both worlds, the business side of Bad Boy kept dragging him back into the mess. In fact, 2009 saw one of the wildest moves in the whole saga. Mase literally showed up on a live radio show and handed Diddy paperwork demanding to be officially released from his contract. Diddy signed it, but it wasn't a clean break. The deal only let Mase appear on other artists' tracks, but he was still tied to Bad Boy in other ways. It wasn't until 2012 that Mase declared he was finally free, but even then, the tension didn't end. Mase kept airing grievances about how Diddy treated him, especially when it came to publishing rights, the part of the music business that controls how artists get paid for their songs. Fast forward to 2020, and things blew up when Mase took to Instagram with serious accusations. He claimed Diddy refused to sell him his own publishing rights, even though Mase offered a whopping $2 million, way over the $20,000 advance he originally received. That post vanished quickly, but the damage was done. Diddy flat out denied the claims and said he owed Mase nothing.
Understand? He was using Mase as other artists to write rhymes on other people, write songs on other people's albums, on his album, and taking their talents and stealing their publishing on different albums and different records. Prime example, Mase wrote that Bad Boy joint. I ain't even see him at the premiere because I believe Diddy owned most of the publishing on that, which ended up being a big record that went over to movies. I think Mase was upset the fact that when he learned the business, he saw how Diddy had robbed him. He had took the glory for the albums, the music, and all the records that he had did. And he got pennies for it. You understand? 8,000 here, 10,000 there. You understand? When the record go platinum, Diddy's getting 200,000-300,000 and only gave him pennies for writing a song, getting points on publishing that he didn't even deserve. So Mase learning the business and knowing the business, it led him to be upset. Diddy was teaching him wrong, like Diddy was teaching him not to even speak to people, brother.
Then came a surprise move in September 2023. Diddy handed back the publishing rights to Mase and a bunch of other former Bad Boy artists. On the surface, it looked like a peace offering, but anyone paying attention could smell the PR spin, especially since just weeks later, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, and that whole saga played out in the headlines. And to top it all off, in the same month, Diddy went public saying he and Mase had squashed the beef and were like brothers now. Sounds like classic industry politics, right? A public show of unity that doesn't erase years of frustration, betrayal, and control. For Mase, it's been a long, winding road from rising star to spiritual leader, one that's still tangled up with the man who launched him into the spotlight. The stories of former Bad Boy artists like Shine, Loon, and Mase paint a vivid picture of what life was really like under Diddy's empire, and how escaping that world often meant turning to faith for salvation. Take Shine, for instance. His journey is one of the most dramatic and heartbreaking. Shine spent nearly 10 years behind bars after being involved in the infamous 1999 nightclub shooting, a violent incident that also involved Diddy and his bodyguard. After finally getting out of prison, Shine did something unexpected. He converted to Judaism in 2010. This wasn't just a spiritual choice. It was a radical break from the life and environment that had nearly destroyed him. But Shine didn't just leave quietly. He came forward with a bombshell revelation that Diddy had set him up. Shine was just a kid, only 18 years old, trying to make his mother proud and bring some recognition to Belize, his home country. Instead of having a mentor or someone to support him, Shine says he was betrayed in the worst way. When he stood up for Diddy, Diddy turned on him, calling witnesses to testify against him. Shine says Diddy played a significant role in sending him to prison. Despite all that pain and betrayal, Shine says he forgave Diddy and moved on, but he's crystal clear that their relationship was never close or brotherly. No vacations, no charity events together, just cold hard facts about a friendship that never existed and a life that was destroyed. Shine even tried to leverage whatever influence he had left to bring scholarships and investments back to Belize, hoping to make something good come out of a terrible situation. But he refuses to let people rewrite history to make it look like Diddy was anything but the man who betrayed him. Then there's Loon, another artist who cut ties with Bad Boy and found his way to Islam in 2008. Like Shine, Loon's departure wasn't just about leaving the music scene behind. It was about escaping a toxic, controlling environment that left many artists feeling trapped. For both of them, faith became a refuge, a way to heal from the trauma and regain control over their lives. And, of course, Mase's story fits right in with this pattern. After breaking away from Diddy, Mase didn't just disappear. He embraced his spiritual side, becoming an ordained minister and using faith as a foundation to rebuild himself. Looking at all these journeys together, it becomes clear that walking away from Bad Boy wasn't just a career decision. For many of these artists, it was a matter of survival. The pressure to participate in those infamous freak-offs, the trauma of what they witnessed, and the manipulative control they endured pushed them to the brink. Turning to religion wasn't just about finding new meaning. It was the only way to escape a darkness that threatened to consume them. These men weren't just looking for a new lifestyle. They were trying to save their souls. So when people see Justin struggling, when they see him leaning into God more than ever, it's not just a personal crisis. It's a spiritual war that's been going on in the background of the entertainment industry for years. Mase saw it and ran. Loon walked away. Shine found his own path. Craig didn't make it. And now, Justin's waking up to the same reality they all faced. It's not just about leaving fame behind, it's about surviving it. And for many of these artists, the only way out wasn't rehab or retirement. It was faith. It was God. Mase hasn't just walked away from Bad Boy. He's openly hinted that Diddy's dealings went far beyond business as usual. According to Mase, the fight with Diddy wasn't just about contracts or money. It was a spiritual battle. He said more than once that Diddy had literally made a deal with evil, and that the only way to fight back was by dedicating his life fully to God. His message? If the devil can come at you aggressively, God can move even more aggressively. This isn't just some vague accusation. Mase has tried to bring the issues to light through the church, reaching out to bishops and elders to mediate the drama and clear his name. But time and again, those gatekeepers have turned a blind eye, exploiting artists while using their talents for their own gain. So what pushed Mase to trade his rap career for the pulpit? It wasn't just Diddy's ruthless business tactics. Rumors swirl about those infamous freak-offs being more than wild parties. They allegedly involved occult rituals, dark ceremonies designed to manipulate and harness energy. Last year, before Cassie's lawsuit dropped, a celebrity medium named Sloan Bella stirred the pot online with claims that powerful music industry figures perform energy harvesting rituals involving young people. Even more chilling, Diddy's late ex Kim Porter reportedly witnessed some of this and had planned to expose it in a book before her sudden and mysterious death. People often reduce this to Diddy's personal life, saying it's about his sexuality. But that misses the real point. This isn't about being gay. This is about ritualistic deviancy, meticulously planned ceremonies meant to break people down and leech their energy for dark purposes. It's about a hidden religion that feeds off the innocent and the spiritually pure. Fans have started noticing some strange things too. There was a video Diddy posted and then quickly deleted where he sat in front of crystals, burning sage and wearing a Biggie Smalls tee. That raised eyebrows, with speculation flying that he might be into witchcraft or occult practices. To add fuel to the fire, Diddy's massive back tattoo is believed by some to represent Izili Dantor, a powerful spirit in Haitian voodoo. It only gets more unsettling. A former Bad Boy bodyguard, Gene Deal, resurfaced recently with stories about full moon rituals that Diddy allegedly held every year on the birthdays of Kim Porter and Biggie Smalls. According to Gene, those gatherings involved idol worship and other disturbing acts that made the atmosphere feel downright sinister. For Mase, witnessing or even suspecting these dark rituals was the final straw. It wasn't just business anymore. It was spiritual warfare. And that's why he turned his back on it all, putting on the pastor's collar and dedicating himself to a higher power, rather than getting dragged deeper into that darkness. And if you thought the rumors about occult rituals were wild enough, there's even more chilling stuff that's recently come back into the spotlight. A blind item that first popped up in September 2020 on Crazy Days and Nights has resurfaced, claiming Diddy took things to a whole new level of darkness. According to the Post, Diddy, referred to as a wannabe rapper turned A-list mogul, was partying on a yacht off the coast of France and sent someone to fetch a live goat. Yep, a real live goat. And in front of everyone on board, this mogul allegedly beheaded the animal right there on the yacht. If that sounds like something straight out of a horror story, that's because it is. This level of ritualistic behavior goes far beyond industry drama or shady business deals. It's the kind of thing that would shake anyone to their core. And that's exactly why so many artists who came up around Diddy ended up fleeing in every direction, many turning to God or different religions to save themselves. When you piece together all the whispers about freak-offs, occult ceremonies, energy harvesting, and now animal sacrifices, it paints a terrifying picture of what these artists were really facing behind the scenes. It's no wonder Mase, Shine, Loon, and others saw no other way out but to find refuge in faith. In that world, turning to God wasn't just about redemption. It was a lifeline, a shield against the darkness that surrounded them. And knowing all this, it becomes a little easier to understand why the journey from rapper to pastor, from artist to spiritual warrior, was not only necessary but inevitable for those who survived. So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.